Man, welcome to The Journey, everyone. So good to have you here tuning in with us on Saturday night. We're in the middle of our series, All I Want for Christmas, and it's going to be a great weekend here at The Journey. My name's Dave Jackson. I'm one of the pastors here.
Yeah, what's up, J-Fam? We are so glad that you're here. My name is Abby, and love for you to take just a moment and let us know where you are gathering from tonight, all right? So open that chat. Let us know where you're coming from tonight.
And then hit that button, that share button you see it on our website. It's up in the right-hand corner or on any of the social media platforms, letting people know about this happening right now in Journey City. You can help us get the word out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you're up to date on everything happening here. We'd love to stay connected with you.
Yes, and one of the best ways to stay connected with us is to head to connectwithus.tv right now. You can let us know really more about your gathering experience. You can leave us a prayer request, or if it is your first time, that is the place to tell us. And guess what? If it's your first time joining us, we will send you some Journey swag, a t-shirt in the mail this week, just to say thank you for being part of our J-Fam today.
Yeah, we're so glad you're tuning in with us, and man, God's doing some incredible things here at The Journey, and we love giving gifts.
We do.
This is the gift-getting season, but also the gift-giving season. We're excited about being able to give outside these four walls. Why don't you tell us about what happened this past week?
Yes, so today was a huge day for us as a church when it comes to being able to give gifts. So through Code Red, our missions and outreach initiative, we had 3 huge projects. We were able to serve literally hundreds and hundreds of people from downtown Philly here and food distribution center at our Newark location, and then we did a whole Christmas Hope event in Newark as well. It just was absolutely incredible. Nothing better than getting to give.
Yeah, we get to make a difference outside these four walls, and you're a part of that as our J-Fam. We're excited to be able to share more details about what happened in the coming weeks. We're going to probably recap with that, some video, which I'm excited about. And we've got a lot planned already for this weekend, and we're going to transition into one of my favorite times of our gatherings, and that's our time of worship. So no matter where you're at, maybe you're sitting at home, you're on your couch, maybe you're driving in your car, you take just a moment and try to cast away all your distractions and focus in, and let's experience God together in this time of worship. Let's worship together.
Welcome, everybody. Worship with us. Jesus is worthy of all of our praise. Amen. I give you my attention, all my focus, pushing off the limits. In this moment, I feel your spirit moving all around me. Come and have your way. I'm looking at the dry bones. You're reviving this faith inside of my soul. You're igniting. You're calling me to levels that are higher. I can see your face. When I set my eyes on you, everything else fades. When I
How we doing tonight, church? Come on, we're going to continue to give our best. No one left out tonight. We're going to continue to worship Jesus. Here we go. Here we go. And let praise be a weapon that silences the enemy. And let praise be a weapon that conquers all anxiety. Oh, let it rise. Let praise arise. We sing, and we sing your name in the dark, and it changes everything. And we sing with all we are, and we claim your victory. Oh, let it rise. Let praise arise. Oh, here we go. We'll see break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifted high. With all creation right, God, we praise you. Whoa, we praise you. Whoa. Here we go. Let faith be the song that overcomes the raging sea. And let faith be the song that calms the storm inside of me. Won't you let it rise? Let praise arise. Let it rise. Yeah. See break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifted high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Whoa, we praise you. Whoa. This is what living looks like. Come on. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you. Oh, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you. Oh, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you. Oh, one more time. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you. Oh, we praise. We'll see break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive. No, we cannot survive. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifted high. With all creation right, God, we praise you. We'll see break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifted high. With all creation right, God, we praise you. Come on, give him praise. Amen. Well, church, we're going to learn and sing a brand new song tonight together. I'm excited to teach it to you. It's one the team and I have been working on for the past few, I guess, months now. And I remember thinking, like, God, I need a fresh perspective on Christmas. I need a fresh perspective of what this time of year represents, because we all fall into the rut of it just becomes tasks and to-do lists and checklists, and you kind of forget the reason behind why we're doing all this. And I said, why? Why would a king come to earth? Why would he leave the splendor of heaven, the beauty, the perfection that heaven was, and come to earth? Why would God send his son here from earth? And that thought was just in my mind, and I said, man, I can't shake this thought. And then it came to me. There's a verse in Luke in the New Testament of the Bible that said the Son of Man came to seek and save those who were lost. So if you've ever wondered, why are we celebrating? Why are we singing? Why are we praising? Why are we doing all these things? It's because the Son of Man came to seek and save those who were lost. And some of us in the room, that might be us right now if you haven't put your faith in Jesus. For some of us, that happened weeks, months, years ago. We put our faith in him. And I want to encourage you, there's freedom in the room tonight. Whether you know Jesus or not, there's freedom here. There's hope. There's life, and life to the fullest. So we're going to learn this new song together. I encourage you, open up your hearts, open up your minds. What kind of king leaves a throne in heaven and trades it all for a life among men? In the manger, the world met its Savior. Thank you, Lord, you came, you came. And freedom is here. Jesus has come, the light of the world. It's God's only Son, here to save the world, here to find the lost. Freedom is here. What kind of king would leave the rest to find me? What kind of king would search for one lost sheep? But there you were, running to my rescue. Thank you, Lord, you came, you came. Oh, thank you, Lord, you came, you came. Freedom is here. Jesus has come, the light of the world. It's God's only Son, is here to save the world and here to find the lost. Oh, freedom is here to save the world. He's here to find the lost. Freedom is here. Freedom is here tonight. From the manger to the grave, you endured the cross. You gave it all for us. Let's sing that together. From the manger to the grave, you endured the cross. You gave it all for us. From the manger to the grave, you endured the cross. You gave it all for us. From the manger
time of worship. I so loved that Journey Worship original. I hope that you did as well. And JFam, if you are just tuning in, a big welcome. My name is Abby. I'm one of the pastors here, and so happy to have you with us on this Saturday night. And I want to encourage you to take just a moment and fill out a Connect card. You can head to connectwithus.tv. That's the best way to let us know that you are gathering with us. And there's a place there where you can share any comments or prayer requests. We've got a team of people who pray over your needs every single week, and it would be an honor to pray for you this coming week. And also, if it is your very first time joining us, let us know on that Connect card. And we're going to send you a free Journey t-shirt in the mail this week. It's just our way of saying thanks for hanging out with us this weekend. And now I am so excited. We are in our series called All I Want for Christmas, and you are going to have an opportunity to hear an incredible message from our lead pastor, Mark, in just a couple of minutes. But before we get to that, we have a few other exciting things happening here at The Journey. So check this out.
I don't know about you, but I'm the type that likes to take one holiday at a time. And now that Thanksgiving is behind us, it's officially time to focus on Christmas. Now, if you're anything like me, the Christmas season can easily go from a time of joy to a time of stress. Whether it's decorating, serving others, or just managing your holiday budget. If any of that sounds familiar, be encouraged, because there is hope. Jesus offers us a peace that the world just can't compete with. And our Christmas gatherings will help connect the dots on how we can reclaim that peace and share it unapologetically with those around us. If this is your first time experiencing Christmas at The Journey, be prepared to be amazed. We'll have plenty of the winter wonder for you, minus the chill, so you won't need to wear a jacket. We'll also have a hot chocolate bar to keep you warm and a whopping 17 opportunities to gather with us December 18th through 24th. You can find those all at yourjourney.tv/Christmas. So if you're here in the room with us today, grab a few invite cards on your way out and make sure to invite the people you love and those you struggle to love to experience Christmas a little differently this year.
Let's play a game of Guess That Christmas Carol. Name the song that illustrates a boy who has only a song to give to Jesus. If you guessed The Little Drummer Boy, you would be correct. There's a reason that the song has been remade hundreds of times. It reminds us that the core of serving is not what we have, but the heart behind it. Like the drummer boy, we encourage you to come with what you have to try serving on our J team right here during Christmas at The Journey. You can be part of making a difference in spreading Christmas cheer. Sign up for our Christmas tryouts at yourjourney.serveday.com. Whether you want to try out our Impressions team, Journey Kids, or hosting online, there's a place for you to offer your best, not only to God, but to your community as well. Now let's get ready for the message.
Welcome to The Journey. Sorry, I was kind of getting into that music at the end of the trailer video there, just getting excited about this season, and I'm very excited that you're here. Glad to have you in the house if you're here in the room. For all of you who are joining us online, a big welcome to you. In fact, Newark, help me show some love to our online location. Love you, JFam, online. Glad you are along for the ride, and especially if you're joining us for the first time, whether you're here in the room or watching right now, I'm very glad that you're here. I think today's message is going to encourage you wherever you are in your faith. But right before we jump into it, we are counting down the days until Christmas at The Journey. 17 identical gatherings coming up across our locations, across 6 days. And we're excited, been planning, preparing for this. And I just want to let you know how you can be a part of Christmas at the Journey. The first thing is to invite your friends and families and coworkers and neighbors and bosses and baristas and basically anybody you can think of. And I mentioned this last weekend, but it's such a great opportunity with 17 different gatherings to choose from, Newark, Hockessin, or online. It's pretty tough to have an excuse, right? You just keep working down until you find a time that works. So make sure that you take advantage of that this week. We have invite cards at the exits here in our physical location. If you're online, you can go to yourjourney.tv/Christmas. We have some social media stuff that you can share to get the word out. But Christmas is one of the best opportunities you will have all year to get a yes to an invitation. So don't come alone. Come be a part of Christmas here and bring somebody with you. I want to invite you to do that. And then secondly, I want to invite you to join me in praying for the people that we bring to have a real experience with God, for people to find Jesus. I'm very excited about the experience that we've created for you and for the people that you bring. And I'm especially excited about the message. I feel like I've been getting it in bits and pieces over the past few weeks. And just again, this past week in prayer, kind of getting some last parts of that message. I really believe God's going to work. And so I want to encourage you to be praying for that. Our staff will be meeting this Wednesday from 1:30 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That is afternoon, not morning. We're not meeting at 1:30 in the morning. We're meeting at 1:30 in the afternoon, and you can make a note just to pause and pray during that time with us. So be praying for Christmas at the Journey, and then I want to encourage you to serve on the J team. So if you're already a part of the J team, you know Christmas is an all-in. It's the Super Bowl of church, all right? So we're going to all be serving during those gatherings, and make sure you get signed up and have a time that you're going to be serving. But if you're not on the J team yet, you can go to the Serve app and choose one of the try it out opportunities that we have there, and we'll get you all ready to serve during Christmas. And then finally, I want to invite you to give in the Christmas offering. Now, if you're checking this out for the first time, there's no expectation that you give anything financially here. We're not going to pass anything around the room or anything like that. But for those of us who are part of this community of faith, this weekend, this season is very special to us, and it's our Christmas offering this weekend. It's an opportunity for us to make a difference outside of our current walls. So not to meet any needs in our church, all of those by God's grace and people's generosity already met. This is about doing something beyond our walls, and you'll hear more at the end of the gathering today. If you've been praying about this, or if you're just hearing about it now, you'll have an opportunity to be a part at the end of the gathering today. But we're gonna help people who are dealing with poverty. We're gonna reach more people online with the message of Jesus, and then we're praying and planning to launch a third physical location of our church somewhere within Journey City. Yeah, I'm pretty fired up about all of that. So I'll give you an opportunity, as I mentioned, to be a part of that at the end of the gathering today. So as we jump into week 2 of All I Want for Christmas, let's be honest with each other. For a lot of us, this season really is kind of a combination of joy and dread, right? It's kind of the best of times, worst of times, as someone famous once wrote about this time of year. And some of us right now, maybe we're preparing for final exams. Maybe you're in high school or college and you're going to be taking final exams, or you just finished up and you haven't got your grades yet and you've never prayed so hard in your life. Or maybe you're realizing how far behind you are on gift buying. Anybody behind on gift buying? If you're married and your spouse is with you, you're in trouble. So, or maybe you realize you've done the gift buying, now it's the budget you're behind on. Anybody kind of relate? Well, I got the gifts taken care of, just not sure how to refinance the house to take care of that. So maybe you're negotiating with family about who visits whom when. Anybody has some drama around that sometimes? Like, just anybody, you've got your family with you too as well. So nervous, I get it. And then there's some deeper things, some harder things about this season. Some of us maybe are getting ready to face Christmas without someone that we lost this past year. I have people very close to me that find themselves there, and it's difficult, it's hard, it's supposed to be a joyous season, but there are parts of it that are very difficult to handle. And I don't know another month on the calendar that has more potential for happiness and stress at the same time, more potential for joy and loneliness, or hope and sadness. I've even, to be very candid, had a love-hate relationship with preaching in the weeks leading up to Christmas. I've been a pastor, been leading the journey now, started this church almost 15 years ago, and it's kind of a little joke actually on our team about how I don't necessarily love preparing Christmas series, because I don't know what it is about it. It's like, how do you put a fresh spin on Christmas? You know, what does that look like? Even it got so bad when our church was just a couple of years old, we did a series called Christmas Schmissmas. And it was all about what a letdown this time of year was. I was just having a bad year, people. I don't know. I'm doing much better now, if you're wondering. Feel good, got my Yuletide spirit. But back then I was like, oh, Christmas. Here's another Christmas series. You want it, here it is. Didn't grow at all during that time, but we've made progress. But the truth is, here's the truth. It isn't just Christmas. All busy seasons like this do is highlight something that is actually a part of our ongoing human condition. And it's the anxiety and the uncertainty that we face on a regular basis when everything isn't going the way we want it to go. No matter where we are spiritually, here's what happens to us. Our hearts, that inner world, you have an inner world, however you refer to it. Jesus often spoke of it as our heart, that place no one else sees, that contains so much of who we are, kind of the center of who we are. And that part of our lives gets messed up sometimes, doesn't it? And we may keep, this kind of flat expression on our faces, not let anybody in on what's going on inside, but our hearts get messed up. And I think if most of us could say what we really want for Christmas, all I want for Christmas is for everything to just get fixed in my life right now. How many of us would just say, if all the stuff that isn't working would work, if all the people who aren't doing what they are supposed to do would just start doing what they're supposed to do, everything would be great if it would work out right now. And into that unsettledness of our human condition, Jesus speaks. And we're going to talk during our Christmas gatherings. Again, so excited about that message. Don't want you to miss it and don't want you to come alone because we're going to tie it all together to Christmas. But what we're going to look at today is actually something Jesus said right before he went to the cross. It's about 33 years after he was born. And he's about to give his life away. And he knew the unsettledness of our human condition. So he speaks to it. And he speaks these words of encouragement. Here's what he says. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust also in me. Do you have anything your heart could be troubled by right now? Anybody? Just anything if you're watching online, just think of something in your life that could be troubling your heart right now. Maybe it's a school thing or a money thing or a health thing or a relationship thing. Jesus says, don't let your heart be troubled. So is everybody good with that? Can we close in prayer? Everybody's good? Like, okay, I know what to do now. Jesus says, don't let your heart be troubled. And I think that sounds maybe on the surface unrealistic, very unrealistic to a lot of us. But I want you to notice that Jesus isn't saying we won't face troubles. What he is saying is that we actually have a choice about whether or not we allow our troubles to gain access, not to our lives, that we can't fully control that, but we have a choice about whether or not we allow our troubles to gain access to the center of us, to our heart, to our inner world. We can't control what happens in our outer world, but Jesus says actually there is a way to have a stable, centered, settled, anxiety-free inner world in the midst of all of these outer circumstances. We get to decide if our troubles begin to control how we think and feel and what we assume is true about our future. And according to Jesus, it is possible to have an untroubled heart even in the midst of a lot of troubles. It's possible to have an untroubled center, to have an untroubled inner world even when our outer world is very complicated and confusing. And he says the way to do that is by trusting in God. But he doesn't stop there. He says, you trust in God, trust also in me. Now, Jesus knew that his disciples believed in God. And a lot of us would probably say that we believe in God. For some of you, maybe not. Maybe you're not sure. You would consider yourself agnostic, or maybe even have said, I'm an atheist. I don't think there's a God out there somewhere. Jesus knew for his disciples they believed in God. Most of us believe at least in the idea of God, but that isn't enough to produce an untroubled heart. It isn't enough just to believe that there's a higher power out there somewhere. Jesus said, that's part of it. You got to trust in God, but then you've got to also trust in me. And he knew that the way to really have an untroubled heart is to personally know God by knowing Jesus. Once we get to know Jesus, we start to trust him, and Jesus puts human handles on our relationship with God. Jesus, that's what Christmas is all about, is God putting on humanity so that we could really relate to him. Before that, we couldn't really relate to him, not closely, not personally, not intimately, not in any kind of way that was truly meaningful to our hearts. But when Jesus came, it was God putting on humanity. And as we get to know Jesus, we start to trust him, not just to know information about him. Some of you maybe grew up around religion and it was like, okay, memorize these 43 things about God and then you're good. How many of you found your information let you down when trouble came? It's not enough just to have the information. There's a relationship where we start to trust Jesus. Part of what God might have for you in this season, wherever you are in your faith journey, is that you would begin learning to trust Jesus more by spending time with Jesus more. And around here we call it practicing a slot and spot. It's a way we describe having a time on your calendar and a place you go to read the Bible and to pray and to talk to God and to grow this relationship with Jesus. And you can start wherever you are. But it's important to understand that an untroubled heart does not come from religious information. It comes from a close relationship with Jesus. It comes from knowing him and trusting him. And when we truly trust Jesus, what happens is our troubles can't get past our trust and into our hearts. Because the center of us is stable and steady. In fact, later in this same conversation, in case you thought Jesus was unrealistic, he says, I'm not. Here on earth, you will have many trials and sorrows. Say, Jesus, be more positive. He says, all right, I am positive that here on earth, you will have many trials and sorrows. But take heart. Take your heart back. Reclaim the center of your life. In spite of what's going on around you. Why? Because I have overcome the world. Jesus isn't being pessimistic. He's being realistic. And he says we're going to face many troubles in this world, but when troubles come, we can take our heart back from that troubled condition, reclaim the center of our lives. Why? Because Jesus has overcome the world. Now, this is important because I'm a big believer, by the way, in working on ourselves. I'm a big believer in growing our own abilities and how we think about our lives. And I believe if we could transform the way we think, we can transform a lot about our lives. I believe all of that. In fact, you could say that I'm into self-help. So I don't know if I'm into self-help. Well, consider the alternative, self-destruction. So you should probably be into self-help. So I like all of that stuff. But ultimately, self-help says, at the end of the day, take heart because you have overcome the world. Well, guess what I've realized? I have not overcome the world yet. I don't know if you have. I'd like to talk to you afterward, if so. But for me, I have not overcome the world. So self-help is not enough for me at the end of the day. Self-help says, hey, take heart, take your heart back. Don't let anxiety control you because you are awesome. I have discovered I am not that awesome. Thankfully, Jesus' help says, take heart because I have overcome the world. Jesus says, you don't have to try to muster it up within yourself to hope that one day you'll finally believe in yourself enough to have confidence. You can believe in me. I've already overcome the world. You're with me, therefore you have overcome the world. So take your heart back. Regain control over your heart. Don't let your heart be troubled. Let your heart be trusting. So this trust that Jesus invites us into is not just a feeling. It's not just church goosebumps. It's not just a spiritual experience. It may start that way, but ultimately it's a decision. It requires something of us. It requires us to refocus our faith. That's what we're going to do in a few weeks during 21 days of prayer and fasting. So if you're new to our church, we do this every January. Talked a little bit about it last week. 3 weeks, the first 3 weeks of the year, starting January 3rd, the first Monday of the year. We'll take 21 days and we will pray and we will fast. We'll do without something. We'll say no. The way I always say it is we'll say no to something we usually say yes to so we can say yes to something we've been saying no to. So we can get closer to God. And I always love that we do it January 3rd because we do lots of feasting for Christmas and then we'll go right into fasting. You know, it's exactly what we need. And we'll come together every day. We'll meet every morning at our locations to pray and to get close to God. I want to encourage you to be a part of that because it's about shifting your focus. And I would especially encourage you if you're in a season in your life where you're really stressed out. In fact, if you would say, I don't have time to pray, I think you're the perfect candidate. Because the reality is this requires us to shift our focus. Let me ask you, what are you focused on right now? Are you focused on your troubles? Or are you focused on the one you're trusting in? And what would it look like for you to shift from focusing on the troubles you're facing to focusing on the Jesus you're trusting? What would it look like to shift from that focus on the problems to focus on Jesus. Trust in Jesus is the cure for a troubled heart. But what are we trusting Jesus for? So some of us are going, hey man, I'm trusting Jesus. I'm trusting Jesus right now. Everything's going to be fixed by the time this is over, meaning this gathering. I'm trusting Jesus that literally on the way home, my kids will figure their lives out, text me and say, it's all good. Some of you going, I'm trusting that on my way home, my parents will figure their lives out and post on Facebook about it because they don't know yet. They should probably just text me. So for some of us, we say, oh, I'm trusting Jesus that he'll fix everything right now. And I do believe that that's not a bad place to put our trust. Jesus, I believe you're able. I believe you're going to do a work in my life. These troubles are nothing compared to you. You can do anything. And yet when Jesus tells us to not allow our hearts to be troubled, but instead to trust, he doesn't start talking about what he's going to do right now. Here's where he goes right away. Next verse. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. What does that mean? I thought we were talking about trusting you, Jesus, that you were going to fix things in our lives. Jesus says, no, don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. But then he doesn't say, trust me because everything's going to be okay right now. Instead, he starts talking about his Father's home. He starts talking about somewhere that we aren't yet, an experience that we don't have yet. We think an untroubled heart comes from everything being good right now. Jesus says, no, a truly untroubled heart comes from knowing that everything will be good eventually. And while it might be wonderful if everything's good right now, there's a confidence that everything in my life that is painful and difficult and hard to bear and doesn't make sense and makes me mad at God, makes me frustrated with myself, makes me disappointed in other people, that one day it will be resolved, and it will be the day when I am in my Father's home. The day when I finally finish this life. Now, I know even as I was preparing for this weekend, I was thinking, how about all of the people in the room or the people watching here? You're not thinking about heaven. It seems so far off. It seems like something that's not even on your radar, and yet Jesus begins talking about heaven. And by the way, he says this to 12 disciples who are all, as far as we know, under the age of 30. It's not like they've lived a long life and they're like, yeah, heaven, can't wait to get there. No, they're young. They think they've got their lives ahead of them, and Jesus starts talking about heaven. And so they're going, man, I don't want to hear about heaven. I mean, I got enough going on right now, and is that even real? Is heaven even real? Jesus insisted it was real. So if you're trusting Jesus, that means trusting him for this, that where we're headed, everything broken will be restored, and that this life is not all there is. This life is not all there is. There is more to you. In fact, there's more to you. Because you have moments when things fire off in your thoughts and in your heart that cannot be explained purely through your physical being. You have this yearning in you. I know you do because I have it too, because every human being I've ever encountered has it. You have this yearning in you for your life to matter. You think about the future. Other animals do not think about the future. Your Labrador is not at home right now trying to figure out its retirement plans. You're different. You were created in the image of God. God put eternity inside of you. And until you start paying attention to that reality, you're always going to be frustrated with this world because you think it's all there is. But Jesus says, no, there's more. There's my Father's home. And trusting me means knowing that where I'm taking you, there is more than enough room. There is more than enough space. There is more than enough grace. And when we begin to trust Jesus with our forever, it changes the way we live now. Our hearts become untroubled because they become tethered to heaven instead of this world. And we tie our hearts to something that lasts instead of all the stuff that shifts and shakes with the culture and the problems around us. I'm telling you, we begin to replace our fear that there will never be enough and things will always be the way they are now with this deep confidence. We become unfazed by the chaos of our circumstances, unconvinced that our problems have the last word. We become unmoved by the mess around us when our trust is in Jesus and our hearts are tied to heaven. You can live with an untroubled heart. And here's how it happens. It happens when we realize that our now is not as scary because our always is settled. You want to take some of the sting out of your now? Remember your always. And take some of the pain out of your current circumstances. Go meditate on the words of Jesus. In my Father's home, there's more than enough room. Our always is settled. Jesus continues and he keeps speaking encouragement into our lives. He says, if this were not so, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? Don't trust Jesus' teaching and trust Jesus to be a role model and a mentor, an example in your life, and not trust him with what he said about your eternity. He said, if it weren't so, I wouldn't tell you this. I'm not stringing you along. He said, I'm going to prepare a place for you, and when everything's ready, I'll come and get you so that you will always be with me where I am. Our always is settled. You ever been waiting for someone who's late and it just drives you crazy? Anybody else have that experience? Anybody married to that person? Just be honest. Married to him. Married to him. It's just like, come on. It just drives you crazy. That's how some of us feel spiritually right now. We're waiting for God to fix things, just driving us crazy. Come on, God, why is it taking you so long? Anybody else told God that? God, why is it taking you so long? What are you, God? Last week we saw that while we're living this life here, in this life, this world, we're called to make ourselves at home. We need to get a patience about us and a commitment to not just anxiously bounce from one thing to another, but to build homes and plant seeds, and depending on our season of life, to raise families, to work for the peace and prosperity of our city, to pray big prayers for the people around us. Where does the confidence come from to live like that when circumstances are uncertain? It doesn't come from things being perfect now. It comes from the hope that one day, whatever we're facing, it's going to be resolved. All things work together for the good of those who love God, are called according to his purpose for them. And if you're new to following Jesus, this is where that deep peace comes from. Knowing that no matter what things are like right now, our current problems don't have the last word. Our hearts are tethered and tied to eternity. Jesus says, when everything's ready, I'm going to come and get you, and you'll always be with me. Why does he say that to us? So that we'll understand that our now is not as scary, because our always is settled. In fact, I would suggest that all anxiety comes from a condensed view of current circumstances. All anxiety comes from I'm talking about just even normal anxiety, like you're on 95 and somebody swings over in front of you at 80 miles an hour and you think you're going to spin out of control. Where's your anxiety come from? A condensed view of current circumstances? If you could immediately see the next 40 minutes and you're still made your way up 95 and got off and everything was fine, you wouldn't be anxious, right? But the reality is your time period is condensed. All you can see is the moment, so you get anxious. Jesus wants us to understand that the only way to make our now not as scary is to start living in the truth that our always is settled. He invites us to expand our time period. In fact, a great question to ask, by the way, it's a great question to ask if you're having an argument in your marriage. I found this is great. This is great. Will this argument matter 10 years from now? If not, shut up and eat your dinner. That's just good marriage advice. You're welcome. Write that down if you're taking notes. All stress comes from a condensed view of what our lives are really all about. In fact, that's when we act like animals, because we get this condensed view of what life is like. Jesus is trying to say, and I'm trying to help you during this season of your life. I feel like God just really wants to get inside some of our hearts and start kicking the trouble out, because he starts tying our hearts to something that's going to last long after this trouble is gone. I don't know how soon your problem is going to be resolved, but I know it's going to be resolved if you believe in Jesus, because he has overcome the world, and your always is settled. It's settled. Our schedules may be troubled, our families may be troubled, our finances may be troubled, our thoughts may be troubled, but our hearts are not troubled when we trust in Jesus, because our always is settled. This same guy, John, who wrote these words of Jesus down, also wrote the last book of the Bible. If you're if you're kind of skittish about the Bible, it's the one book of the Bible you never want to read, right? The book of Revelation. You're like, I don't want to read Revelation. Revelation has like beasts and monsters and all that stuff. But at the end of the book of Revelation, John, who wrote down these words of Jesus, describes heaven. And here's what he says. I heard a loud shout from the throne. It pictures God in all of his greatness and majesty, saying, look, what God had always wanted and intended is real now. God's home is now among his people, just like Jesus promised back in John 14. He will live with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them. Listen, he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. All these things are gone forever. That's the picture. And the temptation that we struggle with when we're dealing with trouble in our lives is to buy into this lie that the way things are now is the way they will always be. But what we're facing now is just for now. There is an always coming. And when that always arrives, our troubles will be over, our pain will end, our sadness will be eased, our hope will be restored. We will always be with Jesus. This is why we spend time with God and with God's people. We zoom out from this world and we get a taste of our always, and then we can go back to our now, and it's not as scary. And here's the last part. Jesus says this, and you know the way to where I'm going. Some of us are going, how could that be possible? Well, he says this to people who know him. Because the way isn't instructions or information. The way is a person named Jesus. And maybe you've gotten turned around spiritually lately. Maybe you're looking for a way out of your issues and hurts. Jesus says you actually already know the way if you know me. Because Jesus is the way. He's the way to heaven someday, and he's the way to an untroubled heart today. And when you know him, you find out that your now is not as scary because you're always is settled. And Jesus lived this out. So Jesus went through the scariest thing that anyone has ever faced, dying on the cross for the forgiveness of our sins, paid the price for all of our sins, faced death on our behalf, trusting that his always was settled. Trusting that 3 days later he'd rise again, we'd be rescued, brought into a relationship with God. He was able to expand what he saw in order to go through the pain for the prize that was on the other side. And that's what he invites us to do. And that's what this whole church thing is about. So if you're wondering, what does it really mean to have a relationship with God? Well, it starts with trusting in Jesus. And then as we trust in Jesus, we start to do life the way Jesus called us to do life so that we can stay focused on Jesus. That's why we gather like this. Gathering like this does not always fix all of our problems right now, but what it does do is it gives us a taste of our always, which makes our now a little less scary. That's why we connect in groups of people doing life together throughout the week. People go in the same direction spiritually, remind us of our always, which makes our now a little less scary. It's why we serve, because purpose retethers our hearts to what will last after we're gone. It reties our hearts to heaven and gives us a perspective, an always perspective that makes our now not so scary. And those habits and those environments, if we'll allow them to, will point us back to the way, point us back to Jesus, point us back to trust. So I don't know when what you're facing right now will be resolved. But here's what I do know, it will be, because if you know Jesus, your always is settled. And you might have thought that all you want for Christmas is for your current stress, or your current crisis, or your current pain, or your current problem to be fixed. And I hope it is. And I believe God can do some amazing things in your now, extraordinary things. I hear the stories every day of how people's lives are being changed here, how your lives are being changed here by the power of God's presence. He can transform your now, but my biggest prayer for you goes beyond your now. My biggest prayer for you is that you would have peace in this season. And peace comes from trusting Jesus and knowing that your now is not as scary because your always is settled. Peace comes from the ability in any given moment, listen, in any given crisis, in any given broken relationship, in any given moment of need, when you get the report back from the doctor and it's not what you wanted to hear, when you're struggling with your emotions, when your family's being disrupted, peace comes from being able to zoom out and expand your horizon and remember, this may feel like hell right now, but heaven is on my horizon. My always is settled. Jesus has taken care of my life, and I'm safe in his hands. And if you're a follower of Jesus who's been allowing the stuff of this world and the stuff that troubles our hearts to get on the inside of you, and you would say today, I need to turn back again from those troubles. I need to take my heart back from those troubles and return to trusting Jesus. Here's what I want to invite you to do. I want to ask you as a show of faith just to lift your hand and hold it up all over the room. If you're watching online, you can do this right now, right where you are. Just hold your hand up toward heaven. If you would say, I believe in Jesus, but I've allowed my heart to be troubled, and I want to take my heart back and refocus. What would it look like for you to refocus on trusting Jesus? If you would say, I need that today, then I want to pray over you. Father, right now, I lift up to you every person who lifted their hand toward heaven, here in the room, watching online, wherever they are. God, you know their circumstances, you know their problems, you know their stressors, you know their pain, you know their unanswered questions and their unmet expectations. And Jesus, first of all, I pray with confidence that you would move in their now. I pray that you would heal relationships that look like they have no hope. I pray that you will meet needs that look like they have no solution. But God, above all else, I pray for your people, that you'd put a strength in us and a courage in us, the ability to zoom out from our current circumstances and to hear you speaking to us. There's more than enough room in my Father's home. I've gone to prepare a place for you. When everything is ready, I will come and get you. You will be with me always. I'll wipe away every tear. I'll heal every sorrow. There will be no more death, no more pain, no more sickness, no more loss. God, encourage our hearts today with the truth of your word, we pray. Let our now not be so scary because we know our always is settled. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. And I want to take just a moment more and speak to any of you today who maybe you're tired of empty religion, tired of empty pursuits, tired of going through the motions in your life, tired of making your life work on your own, trying to make it work on your own. Jesus has this offer for you. The same Jesus that said the words that we read today said, come to me, any of you who are tired. If you feel like you're carrying a heavy load in your life, I'll give you rest. And the rest he was speaking of was the rest of an untroubled heart. You can live with an untroubled heart. When you have a relationship with God through faith in Jesus, you can live with the confidence that your always is settled. And if you want that today, maybe you've been coming for a little while, maybe you've been kind of sitting on the fence with this, but you sense God is drawing you to him right now, then this is your moment, this is your opportunity to put your faith in Jesus and begin a real relationship with God. And it'd be my honor to lead you in a very simple prayer to take that step. So I want everyone to join me again. Just block out everything else around you. Everybody, open your heart up to God with me. And then if that's you today, if you need to begin a real relationship with God by putting your faith in Jesus, right where you are, whisper out a prayer. Something like this. Use these words if it helps you. Jesus, today I give my life to you. I believe in you, that you died for my forgiveness, that by knowing you, I can be saved. I can be made new. I give you my whole life. I'm going to follow you from this moment on. And if that's you, while everyone around you stays focused on God, if you would say, I want to be included in that prayer, will you lift your hand and hold it up today so I can see it? I just want to celebrate that with you. Yeah, I'm putting my faith in Jesus today. Yes. If you're watching online, make sure you share that with us in the comments, that you prayed that prayer today. And then everybody, will you help me? Come on, let's give Jesus all the praise. Change lives. We're going to wrap up this gathering in just a few minutes, but we have something very important to experience together and share together before we do. A big part of what we can do now to make a difference for always is our generosity when we give. Jesus actually said, don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth, but store up treasure in heaven, which is impossible to do if you're obsessed with now. And your now might even be like the next 5 years or the next 10 years. But if you're obsessed with this world, it's really hard to store up treasure in heaven. Giving gets a whole lot less scary when you know your always is settled. And so we have an opportunity as a community of faith to be a part of our Christmas offering. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in just a moment, how you can be a part of that. But first, I want you to turn your attention to the screens. I want to show you what your generosity has already accomplished this year. Check it out.
Journey 2021 has been an incredible year around here. God has been showing up and showing off as we strive to help people find Jesus and follow him fully. And it's your generosity that is accelerating that mission. Here's a taste of what God's done in the life of our church this year. So far in 2021, we've seen on average 1,578 people join us for a weekend gathering. But you and I both know that it's more than just getting people to a gathering that matters. So far this year, we've seen 1,392 people raise their hands to let us know that they put their faith in Jesus. Isn't that incredible? Every week, people are finding Jesus and following him fully because of your generosity. But this Christmas, we have an opportunity to do something even bigger, to give our best gift and to be generous outside our walls to the people who are near us and need us most. All year long, we've been feeding hungry people in our region. Since we completed the food distribution center at our Newark location, you know, the one that you gave to in last year's Christmas offering, we've fed more than 2,500 families over 180,000 pounds of food, and we're not done yet. That's why the first $50,000 of this year's Christmas offering is going to Convoy of Hope, one of our partners that not only provide food for us here in Journey City, but all over the world. This year, we've worked hard to reach people online through targeted online marketing and curating experiences exclusively for our online audience. We've seen over 400 people join us online every single week, but we're just scratching the surface. That's why the next $50,000 that you give is going towards expanding our technology and hiring a visionary leader who will accelerate our ability to help more people find Jesus and follow him fully in the digital space. This year, our Hockessin location has been thriving and growing. In January, Hockessin was averaging just 75 people gathering with us on a weekend, but so far in November, it's been 125. That's up 67%. And that's why everything else you give in our Christmas offering this year will go towards planting and sustaining a third physical location of the journey for people to gather, connect, and serve in their community. People find Jesus and follow him fully at the speed of our generosity. How much is one more person being fed physically or spiritually worth in the eyes of Jesus? I don't know exactly. But what I do know is this: one day we'll stand before Jesus and he'll remind us of this moment and show us the impact we had together.
Isn't that amazing? Awesome. Here's what I know. I know all of us are in a different place, and I really, as I prayed about our Christmas offering and preparing for it over the past couple of months, I felt so strongly God's hand on this season in our church and on this moment of opportunity for us to just pray, listen, and then do what God leads. And maybe you're blessed financially, maybe you've had a great year, maybe the amount that you're able to give is large, and I just challenge you to stretch your faith and believe God. Step up. And then there may be some of you, it's been a tough year, and you would say, well, if I really stretch, I can do something, but it won't be large. But God doesn't measure the same way you do. And it's actually not the amount that matters most, it's the proportion of that amount to our ability that matters most to God. And so when we take a step of faith and we pray and listen, do what God leads, it's amazing what he can do. And the impact, I believe, can be just as significant when that represents a step of faith. For a lot of us, we're somewhere in between. You know, we've had some good things. We got some things we're not so sure of financially. But this is an opportunity for us to elevate our faith above the now that we get so obsessed with and to tether our hearts to heaven, to say, God, Jesus, I believe your words, and I believe you're going to prepare a place, and I'm going to store treasure up there in advance by putting what matters to you first in my life. So we're going to have an opportunity to give together. This weekend, there's real need in our region and world. That's why we're giving to Convoy of Hope. In fact, Convoy of Hope, through Convoy of Hope, we're already on the ground in the Midwest, helping the families who've been devastated from the tornadoes that took place. That's how quickly we're able to move with great partners that we support like that. We're going to continue to support them through our Christmas offering. We're going to reach people online. There's a vision to reach Journey City, that 30-mile radius around our Newark location. And we are planning to plant a third physical location, everybody, in Journey City. I'm excited about it. So for today, here's how you can give. If you want to be a part of the Christmas offering, if you're here at our in-person location, you want to give via cash or check, you can use one of the envelopes on the back of the chair in front of you. Just choose expansion if you're giving toward the Christmas offering. If you'd like to give via text, you can text GIVETJ to 94,000. Very simple way that you can give. I think do we have these on the screens, guys? Can we get those on the screens real quick? All those ways to give. So you can text GIVETJ to 94,000. It's simple and safe. When you do it the first time, you get a secure link back. Takes 30 seconds. Very safe way to give. If you'd like to give online, yourjourney.tv is also safe and secure. If you'd like to give us a piece of land or a building where we could launch a third physical location in Journey City, if you'd like to give us a building in Hockessin that can become a permanent home, if you'd like to buy the land next to us so we can expand our parking at Newark, my email address is markjohnston@yourjourney.tv. Please let me know. I just figured I'd throw that out there. But I really want to encourage you. Here's my experience. The last thing I'm going to say, I'm going to pray over us. Here's my experience. When you do this, when you go through this process, now some of you will just give because you feel generous, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Some of us are going to go through this process. Pray, listen, give. My experience, I've been doing this for a while. First number's mine. Second number's my attempt to compromise. Third number's God. So just keep that in mind as you pray, listen, and give. That's been my experience. Is that all right? Everybody got very quiet. It's all right. We're going to change the world together and be generous together. So let me pray over it. Father, thank you for your goodness and love, your kindness. God, there's no guilt or shame. You told us to decide in our hearts between you and us what we're going to give it cheerfully, trust you with the results, and just walk in faith. And I pray that over every person. I pray over every household. God, our prayer for Christmas offering is that 400 households in our church would participate. And I pray that over everyone right now, every teenager, every young adult, every couple, every older person, every middle-aged person, God, every stage of life, in every circumstance, that as we trust you, give toward what matters for eternity, you'll multiply it. Jesus, it's our honor to be a small part of what you're doing in our world. Thank you for the privilege. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. So you can give this weekend. You can also give all week if you need some more time to pray about it. Let's believe God for big things. Would you help me give Jesus all the praise one more time, guys? Thank you.
Wow, well, that was absolutely incredible. I'm so excited about what God is going to do through our Christmas offering this year, and I'm so excited what he's going to do through you and every single one of us. I'm so glad that you joined us this weekend. I hope it really fired up your faith. I want to encourage you, if you made that decision a few moments ago to put your faith in Jesus, let us know on that Connect card at connectwithus.tv, and we're going to send you a New Believer's Bible in the mail this week. There is nothing better than getting in God's Word to continue growing in your relationship with him. So make sure that you do that. Of course, if it is your first time joining us at JFam, let us know on that Connect card as well, because we have another gift that we're going to send to your house. And then last but not least, next weekend is Christmas at The Journey. It is all kicking off. We've got 17 gatherings between our in-person and online experiences. And all we want for Christmas is for you to invite a friend and join us this Christmas at The Journey. It is going to be incredible. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be fun. It's going to fire up your faith heading into next year. So you can get all the details for that at yourjourney.tv/Christmas. And again, before you pop off, I want to encourage you, let other people know that you're gathering with us. You can hit that like button, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and let someone else know that they can be a part of what God is doing here at The Journey. All right, we are so glad that you joined us tonight at JFam. We're looking forward to seeing you next weekend for Christmas at The Journey. Have a great night and enjoy The Journey.